obviously we've been hearing rumblings that something was afoot, and I think it's pretty clear at this point that he was going to go in the transfer portal. I mean, I as of this morning, I felt pretty confident with that he was headed to the portal. I didn't expect what went down to go down as fast as it did. Jordan, I don't know how you feel about this stuff, but it's like, everybody else say, well, why? What happened? In the interest of full disclosure, I don't know specifically what incident occurred or what was said that kind of triggered everything this morning. Sark is due to talk to the media any minute on a teleconference, but I don't know. And Sark won't say what happened anyway.
No,
I don't know what specifically happened, but I think at the end of the day, all parties will be better off for it. I think Jonte will be happier, and I think for him at the end of the day, it was a kind of a struggle for him, and Mike Roach has a report on our site. I think it was a struggle for him. Do you go in the portal? Do you stay at Texas? Because I think the carrot being dangled out in front of him, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow was, okay, you make it through this year, you may be target number one for Arch in 2025. So, but that's not going to happen. And we've talked about it in terms of Jonte hypothetically, but now we can talk about it in the real. It sucks because he's a really, really talented kid. This doesn't diminish his talent level. But if there's one position other than quarterback that I'm not worried about Sark being able to acquire the right pieces, it's wide receiver.
Yeah. No, you don't want to take anything away from Jonte. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But if Texas is going to lose a player, potentially to the portal midseason, or not potentially to the portal midseason, wide receiver is the best position that can happen to. They only have 2 5-stars and another top 100 prospect coming in January. And, I'm not going to dive into specifics, but Texas is going to get at least one portal receiver. I firmly believe that. So, I don't know. I don't really know what to say. I think, just look at the situation. Ryan Wingo's playing more than him. Why is that happening? He's more productive, and they trust him.
DeAndre Moore.
Even DeAndre Moore. Yeah. Jonte had a higher snap count than DeAndre Moore did last year. But who did we hear about throughout the spring? DeAndre Moore. Who balled in the spring game? DeAndre Moore. Who were we told that, was kind of stepping into that Whittington role that Whittington had kind of groomed isn't the right word, but tutored him into being?
Yeah. He took it. I'll give DeAndre Moore credit for this. And you mentioned it last year. A lot of people, that have access to the program mentioned it, and I've heard it. He took it to heart when the coaches basically told him, hey, we want you to shadow Jordan Whittington. You watch what he does, you follow him, because that's who you're going to be when he's gone. You're going to get first crack to step into that role. And credit to DeAndre Moore. He took everything to heart, and he's been a really productive piece of this offense.
Yeah. And everything that DeAndre Moore was out of high school, he still was, right? Or not DeAndre Moore, I meant Jonte Cook. Everything he was out of high school, he still is. I keep saying that. Jonte is going to find a home at, in all likelihood, an elite Power 4 school. If not, he's going to land at a Power 4 school. So whether that's Oregon, SMU, who knows? He's going to land on his feet, and he's going to be just fine, and he'll still be able to accomplish.
I think A&M would be in the mix.
He's not going to A&M. I'm
not saying he's going there. I'm not saying he's going there. I'm saying they'll be in the mix.
Yeah. But yeah, so interested to see what happens there. But that's kind of pretty much.
Does he go to Georgia as the player to be named later in the AD Mitchell trade?
I don't know about that. So Eric just tweeted, Eric Henry of Horns 24/7, that Sark just said in regards to Jonte Cook no longer being with the program, quote, "We have nothing but respect for he and his family and wish him the best in his future endeavors." So I'm assuming that's all Sark will say about the situation. You're kind of, I think, out of line if you think he will say more than that. But he'll still be just fine. And I think Texas can be just fine too.
Yeah.
They got DeAndre Moore coming back next year, Ryan Wingo, potentially Matt Golden, and there's still guys like Ryan Niblett on the roster. They're going to hit the portal and get some guys, and Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, and Dalen McCutcheon are arriving in January. So, don't really know what else to say about it. I understand why Texas fans are kind of outraged. He's a fan favorite for a reason. I saw the things he said on Twitter when he was getting recruited, and the different things he said. He's a personality that people gravitate towards, the kids gravitate towards, and trust me, like, I do get the frustration from Texas fans, but at the end of the day, this is college football. Guys are going to go in the portal. If they feel an opportunity is better elsewhere, then most of the time they will go try to get that opportunity elsewhere. So
yeah.
But whenever the portal opens and I think things have died down, I'll kind of get into specifics. But for right now, we're not going to do that. So
yeah, I think when you look at him moving on now, and you look at what's left, there's a couple of things I think that need to shake out to make this, because you can't sugarcoat losing a 5-star guy that's got the potential to play in the NFL. I mean, it sucks. But for this move to work out for you, because I think we agree Jonte is going to land somewhere where he'll have a chance to be productive. For this to work out for Texas, I think a couple of things need to shake out. I think one, the continued emergence of DeAndre Moore needs to be a continued emergence. He needs to keep, he's coming off of the best game of his career against Vanderbilt. So hopefully he keeps growing into this offense and is, one of your top 2 or 3 guys again in 2025. I think at this point for 2025, when you're going to, in all likelihood, be breaking in a new starting quarterback with Arch Manning, even though, Arch started, but everybody knows what I'm saying. He's QB1 at that point. I think Matthew Golden coming back, I think there's a pretty big incentive now for him to come back and be wide receiver 1. Depending on what his draft stock is. And Jordan, I don't know if you've gotten this deep into the weeds with Matthew Golden, but I do think with the NFL kickoff rules changing and the need for kickoff guys, I would think that helps his draft stock a little bit. I don't know where he's going to wind up as far as is he seen as a mid to late day 2, an early day 2, a day 3. I don't know, but he's going to have a decision to make after the year. And you think, with Jonte moving on, from a collective standpoint, in terms of your salary cap management, you probably got a little bit more money left over to give Matthew Golden if you wanted to. So I think Matthew Golden staying at Texas is another way this helps you out. I think 2, getting Khalil Lockett and Jamie French and Dalen McCutcheon, getting those guys into the program and acclimated the same way you did with Ryan Wingo, I think that would help too. That would be beneficial. But I think the biggest thing that can help you, Jonte Cook had legitimate number 1 wide receiver upside. And I think for you to be okay at the end of this, I think we need to be talking about this point next year, 2/3 of the way through the 2025 season. I think there needs to be no question that either Ryan Wingo is well on his way or has already established himself as a legitimate number 1 first-round type wide receiver.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I still think he can be a wide receiver 1, but, we got to look at the picture here. Is he going to be a wide receiver 1 these next 2 years with Ryan Wingo still in Austin? Probably not. So I think he can still accomplish that elsewhere. I think he's talented, like I said, and, I think his goals of being an NFL draft pick are very much still out in front of him. But, yeah, so I don't know. But how about the Florida Gators?
Well, let's. I do want to touch on a little bit more with. I think from Jonte's standpoint, when you're fighting for snaps. And you're in a crunch, you're competing with guys for snaps. And it was that way when they brought in the 3 wide receivers from the portal, more so Golden and Bond than Bolden. You can't drop a wide open touchdown against Mississippi State. And that's really when everything changed for him, because we haven't seen him since. So at that point, that's where you get into the nitty gritty and, the stuff that you're going to get different versions of the story. Did Jonte lose confidence in himself? Did the staff lose confidence in him? Is it some combination of both? I don't know, but that was really the turning point. I think you look back at that play, Jordan, that's the one where it's like, at that point, it didn't help either that you were starting to see Ryan Wingo emerge already, and DeAndre Moore had a hell of a game that game. So Sark doesn't like a big wide receiver rotation anyway. And you almost, I'm not saying that he was looking for a reason to move somebody out of there, but it's like, all right, if you're going to drop a wide open touchdown when you get your opportunities, that's just going to be more reps for Ryan Wingo, more snaps for DeAndre Moore.
Yeah. And I mean, with Jonte and that touchdown, or that touchdown drop for Mississippi State, is that the straw that broke the camel's back here? No. But I do think it could have potentially been a domino. Now, I will say, I get Texas fans. I've seen a few bring up Xavier Worthy wasn't benched with all of his drops a few years ago. Well, yeah, the thing was, who would have came in if Xavier Worthy came out?
Yeah.
Things are a little different now, all right? They can go 6 deep at wide receiver. So, things are different. I think that was, again, I do not think that was a straw that broke the camel's back by any means in this situation, but, I think it contributed to it. They got to be able to trust you when you're in there.
Can we agree that it didn't help?
Yes. Yes. I think that's fine to say. So, I mean, yeah. But anything else you want to hit on?
No, I think what you got to remember too is, when you talk about targets and receptions, I think there's a couple of things, and I think this year has solidified it with the Sark offense. You need to remember that he loves throwing the ball to the running backs. Go look at how many catches Jaden Blue has. Go look at how many catches Trey Wisner has. Both those guys, Jordan, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm pretty sure both those guys are over 20 catches this year. I know Blue is, and Wisner's close to it, if not over. He may be at 19. And then I think we all forget who's the leading receiver on this team in terms of catches. It's a tight end. It's Gunnar Helm, who's developed into a hell of a tight end. So those two positions, so you're talking about combination, deeper receiver rotation, love throwing the ball to the backs. You have a tight end who's more than a body, who you can actually throw the football to. And to be truthful, do you see that changing next year when, Amari Nyblack returns and Jordan Washington gets elevated? I don't see that changing. As a matter of fact, I just think the targets going to Gunnar Helm are probably going to be distributed a little bit more between Washington and Nyblack. Not to mention, hey, man, Nick Townsend's probably playing as a true freshman too. So you're going to get him targets in some weird way. If he commits to Texas, Michael Terry is going to figure into that. Between the backs and the tight ends, he's going to figure into gobbling up some targets and touches somewhere in there. So it's just, there is still, even without Jonte Cook, there is an embarrassment of riches in this program right now at the skill positions, and there will continue to be an embarrassment of riches in this program at the skill positions. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. Yes, it sucks. Yes, fans are frustrated, but I have, in my lifetime following this program, and before anybody says anything about the wishbone when this video gets posted, I was born in 1983, so I wasn't alive when the wishbone happened. I have never trusted a Texas coach more to do the right thing when it comes to recruiting, evaluating, recruiting, and developing skill talent like I do right now with Sark and the staff.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing I want to mention, I've spoken with a few people in the NIL world since this morning. Not really in regards to Jonte, but the conversation started because they wanted to know what I knew. But the portal is, and this isn't breaking news by any means because it's crazy every year. The portal is going to be a legitimate shit show this year. A legitimate shit show. It's a smaller window than it's ever been. And there are guys negotiating stuff with other schools while still at other school earlier than they've ever negotiated, or at least that I've ever heard. So there's going to be some guys who are going to go in the portal that people are not expecting to go in the portal, that people are going to be very confused why they're going in the portal. And this is going to happen everywhere across America, not just in the SEC, not just at Texas, but everywhere across America. So I can't really say anything else besides that. But yeah, I know, Coach Top. I know, you got your connections and stuff too. And probably knows same names that I know. But
Yeah.
it's going to be a ridiculous portal cycle. And I think Texas will be able to get some game-changing talents out of the portal at multiple positions, but specifically wide receiver. So
Yeah.